Simon, since you did not get the opportunity to field your questions at the post-match against Scarlets, we can start with you. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Lunga. Good morning, everybody. Jake, let's start with the bad medicine or the heavy medicine at the moment. I see Egan Cross is again the man in the middle. Your reaction to that, if you can react to that?
Yeah, well, look, he's a test referee, Simon, and he's going to ref test matches in this block coming up now. So he's a rated referee. He made a call, and I think one of the things that I said after that incident and the next one was that referees are human. And what I'm really happy about is that there's a judiciary that gives the player a forum for a chance to state his case. So I'm not wary of anything from the referee point of view. He obviously refed a certain way. We've now seen how he refs, and we're going to have to find a way to adapt. And I'm not talking about the card. I'm talking about the style of refereeing. I'm talking about interpretations at scrum time. I'm talking about interpretations at the maul. But that's a work in progress with Tapa all the time. Anyway, we continually working with URC head office, continually working with referees and referee coaches on how we can improve both ways, both from a refereeing point of view and from a coaching point of view. So we'll get referees that have refed us in the last 4 years. I mean, I don't think we're in a situation, or any team is in a situation, where you'll get a new referee every single week or every single season.
Thanks, Jax. I just want to concentrate on one player that caught my eye last week, Johan Grobbelaar. You made mention previously in the season that, and I asked a question about one of the most important parts of and aspects of hooker play is that find your jumpers in the lineout, and we had a discussion about that. You also made mention of the fact that he's still a young guy that's learning. There were incidents last week, in my perception, that he still not has found that niche on that specific aspect of his play. Do you agree with that? And is it a work in progress with him?
I do, Simon. But I mean, I also think you take a guy like Ruan Nokia out of our team. I mean, he has been the line-out caller. He's basically gone from here into calling the line-outs at test level against teams like the All Blacks. So, once they've played together from juniors. They've been, in my 4 years, they've basically spent hours and hours and hours throwing and jumping as a combination. So I don't think it's got to do with Grobbies. I think whoever I played there, whether it would have been Jan Hendrik at hooker or whether it would have been Akker, I generally think that is something that we're going to have to grow in as a group. Is we can't rely that Ruan Nokia will always be on the field, always calling the line out, and always be there for hookers to get a bit of confidence. We're going to have to find a way with other jumpers, other callers, for us to be as accurate and as good at it as we are when he's on the field.
Jake, we see that Grobbies and Wilco has been called up to the Springboks for the European tour. Any comments on that?
I'm very happy, Carl. I'm very, very happy. I mean, you've heard me say for many years now that it's great that local players get picked. It's wonderful for our club that now we have 11 Springboks. I mean, if you take Jan Hendrik, who's just withdrawn, and our 2 new guys, 11 Springboks. When I started here, we had Trevor and Dwayne, who both obviously no longer with us. So to have 11 Springboks in the mix now is fantastic. It comes obviously with a different management skill, because you can, like the Lions, and I'm using them example, they got no Springboks, which means the next month, 2 months is basically it's basically an easier transition because you're not losing players in and out of your team. But we were fortunate to have that for a couple of seasons. So it is something new, Cole. And I must say it is a difficult, very difficult juggling act because it's leave and it's test matches and it's cohesion and it's the ability to upskill certain players quickly while your senior players are away. And it's also, you lose a lot of voice. You lose a lot of voice when those guys aren't here. You know, when they're here, they talk a lot, they add value, they lead, they guide the youngsters, you know, the immeasurables of the things they do are the things you lose. So it is a very, very unique time for us as a club because it's not something we've had to manage in the last 4 seasons.
Thanks, Lunga. Coach, just to hook on on Wilco, I know he's been knocking on that door, on a Springbok door for a while. I mean, how pleased is he on a personal note about just finally getting that knock, that call from the box?
You know, I think you would know that every young boy in this country wants to be a Springbok. I mean, that is the pinnacle of rugby in our country, is to play for South Africa and play for the Springboks. You know, he last played in 2021. And yeah, I mean, when I told him that you've been drafted into the squad, he was very, very happy. You know, he's you know, from a personal point of view, he's now been away for 3 weeks. He was planning on going home, obviously. They now assemble on Saturday or Sunday after our game. Then there'll be 4 weeks in the UK. So, you know, you could see he was very, very happy, and his wife understands, thank goodness. But you know, it's tough for a young family. I mean, as I said, he hasn't seen his little boy for 3 weeks. Won't see his little boy for 7 weeks. So you know, it is something that, again, talking just now what I said to Carl, Ati, it's a very different dynamic to manage from the one we had when I started here. You know, when I started here, all the kids were young, 22, 23-year-olds. Most of them weren't married. Most of them single guys. Now, all of a sudden, 4 years later, you got married players with kids. You know, so the dynamic of our group is completely different. And with that comes a very different, I suppose, a very different management style and a very different feeling on how you look after the players, because it's as I said, it's wonderful for him, and he's over the moon, and he's, you know, he's gonna have to be away from his child, which is a massive sacrifice, and from his wife, obviously, but he's very, very happy, Ati.
Coach, just to hook on the first point you made about the referees on the field when the action is going on, how much of a big of a responsibility is on the leaders in terms of bringing the team back again, in terms of adjusting to how the referees and because the emotions are high at a high performance environment, but then how much of an onus is it on the leaders, you know, to sort of always bring the guys back whenever they sort of are here?
It is, and that's why I said just now, Ati, when we don't have them around, you know, don't underestimate. It's not just the 10, 15 minutes on the field. It's about the build-up. It's about the halftime talk. It's about the pre-game talk. You know, it's about things that are leading up to certain situations in the game where the seniors can sense it, where they've got enough experience. So it's one of those, but we'll be better for it. You know, I don't want you to sound now that, or make you think that I'm sounding, you know, down, and it's like it's just another time for us as a group. It's a very different scenario, very different feel to what's happening in and around our team. You know, the 10 Springboks, as I said to you, that are going to be joining the Springbok group on Saturday. It's wonderful. And it's really wonderful that when the Bulls pride themselves on producing Springboks for the country. So with that comes an added ball that you have to juggle, you know. But we'll get there. You know, the young captains that are now coming through, and the young players that are now having to step up and you know, and I suppose experience those situations. I was actually thinking about it because I knew you guys were going to ask me in the media But it's one of those things where you can't practice and you can't ever simulate it and you can't ever have a scenario because, I mean, what are the chances of a team getting 2 red cards, you know, in 2 consecutive weekends and then both of them rescinded? What are the chances of, you know, missing a kick in the last play of the game to win a semi-final of a Currie Cup? Now, that's got nothing to do with whether the players are good enough or whether that, you know, whether the team is happy or unhappy or whether the team is fit or not fit or, you know, that just comes with circumstance. And what that does is, and having coached for a long time, what that does is it just creates memories and lessons that make you so much stronger that when you get to further down your career.
Just last one from my side, Lunga, man. Coach, you're coming up against a coach who admires you a lot. I've spoken about how he looks up to you, Marco. How much do you always enjoy going up against him and his team?
Yeah, it's actually very, very, probably the team that I enjoy playing the most. I mean, I'm big friends with Marco and Fabio, who's their scrum coach, as well as all the other coaches. You know, they've got Devat Senekal now, and they've got Kitty, who's a Scottish guy from Edinburgh. So I get on very, very well with them. I just sense with them that they play rugby for the right reasons. The competition is healthy. You know, I never once feel as though, you know, that there's any needle in any of these times that we're together. I'm talking about both teams, and I'm happy for him. I tell you, I've said it to you many times. I think what Benetton have done in the last couple of years is they've got stronger and stronger. Their recruitment's really good. You know, he's got a great squad in terms of age, youngsters and seniors, and so. Yeah, I really enjoy spending time. You know, it's one of the teams that when I was here, I went to supper with them on Monday night with their coaching staff. When they come to Pretoria, I take their coaching staff out, or they come braai at my house, or so it's one of the fixtures that I really look forward to every single year.
Lunga, sorry, it caught me unawares there. Jacob, on that subject of the captains, I missed who the captain is this weekend. Sorry.
Ulrich's the captain.
Okay. And then at the end of the game, the captain will be?
Well, hopefully he'll still be on the field.
I'm just asking.
I'm assuming that he won't be sent off or anything. But yeah, if he's, I mean, he will probably be on the field at the end. But you know, then I've got Akka will be coming on, and who's been a captain. Ludwig hopefully will still be on the field, who's been a captain for us. I think what we're trying to do, MV, well, what I'm trying to do is create an opportunity and upskilling a whole group of leaders that if they're on the field together, they can help each other. So if he's not on, you know, cut his head open, or he's gone off for blood bin or whatever, then at least we can't then fall apart because the captain's not on the field. And the more guys I can sort of put in that role of being captain and having a voice pre and post game, the better it's going to be for us as a squad.
I'll ask you a bit of a left field question about the Champions Cup. You know, just after the test, it's one game URC, and then Champions Cup starts. What's your approach going to be in terms of team selection? I know you always say you'll see my team when you select it, but just in general, is the Champions Cup a priority for you or not?
No, you know, it's I'm glad you asked me that again, because, you know, one of the things that is very, very, and I've been reading a lot about why didn't I pick the same team last week, and you know, surely I should have taken all those players and kept them in Wales. And I think what's important, MV, where you guys can help me as a media, is you have to, and I'm saying again, you have to give guys weeks off. It's not up to you to decide. You have to. And therefore, you can never, ever have your best team playing week in and week out. You just cannot, because of the fact that with injuries, with Springbok commitments, with leave, with I mean, they got a camp now in Jersey. That's out of the window. I mean, the bottom line is that we would have had the week off, and then there would have been but I mean, I know you're allowed to now have 3-day camps, and those are for countries like France and England and those countries that can then bring their club guys from the other premierships. So in other words, a French guy can bring a premiership player back, or a premiership player can bring a guy from Wales back, or whatever. So I think what I'm saying to you is that the days of playing the same group, you're not allowed to. You have to give them rest. That's in their contracts. That's part of the agreement that they sign with my players. I would love to play the same strongest team as many times as I can, but you're just not allowed to. I mean, you just got too many balls to juggle, and then the other thing, and I'm getting back to the thing, MV, you asked me about. There's got to be a human element, As I've got older, I mean, how can I expect a player to be away for 9-10 weeks? Away from a family, then he's got a little boy who's 1 year old. And that's not just him. That's Gerard Steenkamp. That's Akke van der Merwe. What I meant by that is a lot of these players have come back to South Africa because they didn't want to spend so much time away from home. That's why they came here, and they didn't want to. They left Super Rugby because they had such long tours. Now again, before you shoot me down and before you guys write that I'm now going to be in trouble again about, all I want to explain to you is that the Bulls this season have 2 away games after the 4-week Bok tour. So we've had 3 weeks now, then there's a 4-week Bok tour, and I stress a 4-week Bok tour because there's a week in Jersey and then there's a 3-week tour, and then there's a 2-week away block for the Bulls. All the other franchises, so the Lions don't have Springboks. That means the next 3 weeks they'll be at home with their families. And the other teams all play at home. So the Sharks, Stormers, they all play at home either now and after the test window. So that means that they can still spend time with their family. So what I'm sharing with you, MVA, is I'm going to have to decide in the next 3-4 weeks what is a win-win for our group, because I don't think it would be fair from my point of view. I'm only talking about for me to expect those players to stay on tour after the Springboks, then play Saracens, and then come home. I think I would lose much more than I will gain by the dynamic in the group that I have. But again, I can only answer that once I get home, look at the fixture, look at who we've got, look at injuries, look at which players are not playing much in the box, look at which players are single that wouldn't mind staying there. And again, I will have to put all those pieces together and then decide what's going to happen in the next 2-week block after this.
Yeah, we've been saying it regularly. South African coaches probably have the toughest job in the world with all the stuff they've got to juggle. It's the truth. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
Thanks, India. Thanks.
Hi, Jake. It's Ashok here. I won't keep you too long. Just in terms of Benetton, two wins in a row for them. They seem to be finding their touch again, and I always find that they sort of difficult to defend against because they attack in different ways. It's not like they have a set kind of thing, they play with, and sometimes they go up the middle. Yeah, what do you think of them the last few weeks?
That's a good team. I mean, if you go through their team, they've got lots of Argentinians, they've got some Kiwis, South Africans, they've got Zimbabweans, they've got, I mean, I said it just now to Ati, they've got a very well balanced squad. They've put players in certain positions that make their squad so much stronger. Reyno Smith at fullback, or they got Gallagher, who's a Kiwi-born player who played at Bath. They've got Liner, who's an Australian. I know he's Italian, but I mean, he grew up in Australia, so played in England at Harlequins. Brex is Argentinian. Their front row have got Argentinians and Italians in their front row. Elias Neyman, Negri, both Zimbabweans or Rhodesians. So you're right. It's a very difficult team to sort of get on top of because of the fact that they've got such a great mix of power and of pace and skill. And they are a good team. I mean, they made the quarterfinals last year, and we played really well to beat them. So they beat the Sharks with a bonus point, and that doesn't matter which Sharks team it was or whether it was their best. They beat the Sharks, so they would have taken a massive amount of confidence beating a South African team at home as well. So it'll be like it always is. It's going to be a tough game. But we just got to find a way in which we can play our best rugby.
Yeah, because I mean, your forwards have been giving you front football, and they have actually dominated. But as we know, they're not always getting the reward from that dominance. Is this something that you can do differently in terms of that, or maybe you have to
Yeah,
change some
well,
things?
again, Ashfaq, I mean, if I only look at the second half of Scarlets, then you can say that. But we've got 5 points, 5 points, 4 points, 5 points. So, you know, what I meant by that is we beat Edinburgh, we beat Ulster with 5, we beat Ospreys with 5. I mean, there's only one half of rugby which we didn't get on top, and that was against Scarlets after scoring 3 tries in the first half. So, you know, I'm not, I suppose what I'm saying is I'm not going to spend too much effort and time and energy and doing an analysis of a 40-minute display with 14 men. I'm going to work on the positives that, you know, we've done enough in the last 4 games between backs and forwards for us to know that we're good enough if we play well enough.